You know, the beauty of this job, when you do a national job, a national show, that I can pick and choose what I want to talk about. And I can bounce around. It could be the transfer portal. It could be Antonio Brown. It could be Aaron Rodgers. It could be the snow that we had last night. If you're a local host of a show, sometimes you can't get away from something. Like you have to talk about it. And we thought it would be fun to have Tom Krasniqi on. He does the local radio show in Tampa, our great radio affiliate, WDAE. Ronnie and T. Kras, they got off, they do the show prior to ours. And I thought it'd be good to have Tom on to give us what that local perspective is of what's gone on this past season. And Tom joins us now. Tom, thanks for joining us. First of all, if I would have told you a week ago that this was going to play out with what happened with Antonio Brown, you would have said what?
I wouldn't have been surprised, Dan, because this has been Antonio Brown's pattern of behavior the last 3 or 4 years. And as you mentioned, on our show, we got a lot of Buccaneer fans. Now, there were some fans that were pushing back at us saying, Antonio Brown, I don't care what goes on off the field. He's a dynamic playmaker. He can help us win a Super Bowl. So I don't care about what happens off the field. Those fans, presumably enough, are nowhere to be found right now, obviously.
What bothers you about this story, whether it's the Buccaneers side of this, Bruce Arians, or Antonio Brown? Like, is there something that doesn't match up correctly here?
Dan, for me, it's Antonio Brown and what he did last weekend leading up to that Jets game. I mean, who would have thought that the most scoring he would do was off the field last weekend, the night before the Jets game, rather than the Jets game itself? But him complaining about the lack of targets is not really a surprise, because he did the same thing in Pittsburgh a couple of years ago that led to his departure. And he was the second most targeted receiver at the half of the game against the Jets. So I'm not sure why he would sit there and start complaining. And then reportedly he went to the Buccaneers and wanted them to guarantee some of his incentives. I mean, you've got the audacity to try and pull that card with the Buccaneers. So his erratic behavior is all over the place, and that's a guy who I think is crying for help.
What are the reviews of Bruce Arians and how he's handled it this week?
I think very good. I think Bruce has handled it about as well as you can. I mean, he couldn't say much earlier in the week to us via the Zoom calls because lawyers were getting involved. And to be quite honest with you, Dan, I don't think Bruce wanted Antonio Brown here in the first place. And the only reason why he's here, as you know, is because Tom Brady still carries a lot of influence within the Buccaneer organization. So Bruce relented and said, okay, we'll bring him in. We're going to hold our breath and hope that he stays on his best behavior. And it was going well there for a while. And then the fake COVID vaccine card controversy came to a head. And then it didn't take long after that for Antonio Brown to melt down again.
But, Tom, I'm curious. I don't understand this. If Antonio Brown is claiming about his targets at halftime, he's going to check out of the game, but then he does need surgery on his ankle. How do you get these targets if you're not capable of playing because you need surgery on your ankle? Something doesn't add up here.
Well, that was his side saying, yeah, the ankle was all jacked up, but he was not in a boot. He was not in a, crutches after the game. He was seen courtside at a Brooklyn Nets game the very next night. So that's what his side was claiming. The Buccaneers claimed that he was cleared to play. He was out there. He was playing. And then for some reason, he didn't want to go back into the game. And as Bruce Arians said yesterday, you know what? Get the blank out of here. You're done.
Because Antonio Brown says that he gave the throat slash. I mean, my thought is, I just think he's pointing to get out of here, and he viewed it as a throat slash. But this is what AB's MO has been in all of his different stops. But there's a moment, I brought this up to my audience, Tom, the last couple of days. It's, I think, 6 minutes and 36 seconds to go in the third quarter, and Tom Brady walks down the sidelines, and they show this on camera, and he's basically checking in with Antonio Brown, who I think is basically checking out before he takes off his pads. And you could almost see Brady resign to the fact that I lost him. Like, this guy has checked out. I don't know if Brady has. I want to know what he said to Antonio Brown in that situation, because it was right after that where I think Bruce wanted him in the game. He said, I'm not going in. He said, get out of here. And Brady's on the field.
Well, think of it this way, Dan. I was thinking about this the other day on our show. Here's Tom Brady, a guy who vouched for Antonio Brown not once, but twice. He invited him into his home, took him under his wing. No, listen, he's misunderstood. I'm going to take care of this guy. He's going to help us win. And here was Antonio Brown late in the third quarter, down 24-10. He just gets up and leaves Tom Brady, and he leaves his teammates high and dry. And give Tom Brady a lot of credit, because he's like, okay, he's gone. Let's go to war with the guys that he has, and with 2 minutes left and no timeouts, calmly marches them down the field and scores a touchdown to beat the Jets. I mean, that's what kind of competitor and what kind of focus that Tom Brady has.
And that's something that we really haven't shined the spotlight on, that Brady Antonio Brown just committed career suicide in Tampa. Tom's got to get on the field and no timeouts, go 90 yards and win this game. Degree of difficulty as at a pretty high level. Let's look at bigger picture. How dangerous is this team as we get to the postseason?
If they get healthy, Dan, they could be very dangerous. Now, the big questions are Levante David, Leonard Fournette, Shaq Barrett is not going to play this Sunday. They hope he's ready for the start of the playoffs. So they can get these three guys back and healthy. Mike Evans is now healthy from his hamstring, which is a great sign. Then I think they're locked and loaded, and they can take down anyone in the NFC, including the Packers. Now, I would have Green Bay as the clubhouse leader, because nobody in the NFL has a better home field advantage in the playoffs than Green Bay, and they're going to get some healthy guys back, namely Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari, and maybe Zadarius Smith. So I think Green Bay has the edge, but with the Buccaneers getting healthy, Dan, hopefully, you can't bet against Tom Brady.
Tom, great to talk to you. Have a good weekend, maybe an uneventful week. Are you hoping for some, I was just talking about the content factor of, I don't have any horse in the race here, but you give me content. I loved Antonio Brown here. Are you looking for a very simple, methodical, get a win against Carolina game, or are you looking for a little more drama?
I'm looking for more drama, Dan. Listen, unfortunately, with Antonio Brown out of town, to quote Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation, he's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Yes, he does. Thank you, Tom. My best to the folks at WDAE. That's Tom Krasniqi. He hosts the show, Ronnie and T. Kras. That's the show that precedes ours.